Welcome to the Filthy Liberal Scum podcast. Week 2 of being actually on camera in color with actual faces. Look. Smiles.
Where are you hiding the camera?
See the little green blinky thing?
That's your router.
Oh. Okay, so I am your host, the Filthy Liberal Scum, Justin Rosario. I will not always be looking at the camera because that will just be awkward for me to be looking up the entire time, so I'll probably be staring at my screen. This is the Mike Murphy.
Hello.
You can tell by the shine in his glasses that he's special. And, of course, the Fat Smug Bastard.
It was a haggling.
The Haegling.
The haggling.
Yes, we will get to that in a moment. But we're going to start off real quick with some breaking news. The kid that was taken hostage last week by the lunatic, they're going to get my guns and blah, 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 and government's out to get me, black helicopters, doomsday prepper type guy who had his bunker in his backyard. He actually had a bunker. Although I did think it was rather ingenious that he used a piece of PVC pipe to, he had it run under his driveway so he could know someone came up on his driveway while he was in his bunker. I was like, okay, that's fairly ingenious. Personally, I don't know why they didn't gas this guy to begin with.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. Why not just drop a little, like, you know,
a little slow
nerf
gas,
whatever.
Yeah, just a little slow gas.
Carbon monoxide, you know, hey.
It'll knock him unconscious and we'll kill him.
There was a child.
No, but they have this in prison, you know. Like, if there's a riot, they'll drop pellets down and knock everyone out, including guards or whatever. And then, all right,
you know, there has to be something you can knock a kid and an adult out without actually hurting them.
I think what they were worried about is that the minute he sees gas coming in, he shoots the kid. Right?
You put something that's not visible. Not over
odorless.
It's going to be very hard for there not to be a warning.
Carbon
monoxide.
And
he has to fall asleep at some point. The guy was up for like a week straight. He's got to pass out eventually.
How do you know when he's asleep?
You send him a little camera.
I have a feeling.
Yeah,
prepper, you're not gonna.
He's gonna go crazy and shoot himself and the kids.
So. Well, they ended up charging in and shooting him anyway. So
yeah, I think that's what they did.
You don't have a 20 in sneak. Stop.
It's like I could roll a 20.
Well, thankfully the kid is alive.
Yeah, the kid's fine.
I mean, obviously this is a little dated. We're just finding out now what happened. By the time most people are watching this thing, oh yeah, I know exactly what happened. But thankfully the kid's okay. And
but you know, if only that kid had a gun, this would never have happened.
If he had a gun!
If the bus driver had a gun, right?
If the bus driver had a gun, this would never have happened.
They'd all had guns!
Of course, what you're not going to hear on Fox is that the guy was a nut job. You know, they're going to come get my guns, and I hate the government, and
in other words, he was a conservative.
Yes, pretty much.
Mind you, American Sniper, you know, this poor bastard who was like a decorated Navy SEAL was recently murdered yesterday, or day before yesterday, by some guy who turned out to be, you know, a veteran who was despondent and basically killed 2 armed men who are among them
in an entire area filled with people with guns.
Well, I think they were in a gun range of all places.
Yep.
And here's a guy. Here's a guy who had access to a gun at the ready. Among the most decorated men who have ever fired a rifle, and he was killed by some
in all fairness,
if only he'd had more guns.
Yeah, see, I've never.
Unless he had clairvoyance. If only he had ESP, this would never have happened.
The OK Corral argument has never been one of my favorite in terms of the pro-gun angle.
I mean, if we
all have guns, everything will be better.
Right, if that guy can't defend himself, then we're all doomed. I mean, you know, honestly.
Well, that's
a Navy SEAL, a decorated Navy SEAL, 150 plus kills in Iraq. All right, the man had a gun at the ready, and some poor, you know, and another guy with him, and some person they were hanging out with, trying to, you know, it was some sort of weird gun therapy they were going through. You know,
I don't think taking a guy with PTSD to a gun range is going to help.
Well, they're trying to bond with him, saying like, "Hey, you know, you're one of us."
Does he pet the gun?
Yeah, I know.
You're my friend.
But I'm just saying though, if that guy can't defend himself from some crazy person who decides I'm going to just kill people, then no one's safe. I mean, that's all there is to it.
Well, the whole shootout.
Like, you know, a civilian, a normal person.
Yeah, exactly. If trained people can't do it, regular civilians.
I mean, thank you.
It's like, oh, I've had 40 hours on the gun range.
A Navy SEAL can't do it.
I've had 40 hours on the gun range.
And you're expecting, you know, middle-aged women who are teachers or professional educators who are going to be able to.
Well, since we already discussed this, let's get to the gun nut excuse of the week. This is going to be like a weekly thing now, because until Wayne LaPierre gives up, this is just going to be every week is going to be some new like excuse about why we can't do anything about guns. So this week's
what's the over under? Is Wayne LaPierre a false flag operation? Is he being paid by Michael Moore?
I don't know. It's starting to seem that way because his latest complaint is that we can't have background checks because background checks won't stop criminals. So therefore, don't do anything.
Any law criminals won't obey, we can't have.
And that's a complete reversal from what he had said
in
back
1999.
I mean, he was testifying in Congress. It was aired during the Super Bowl.
Yeah, well,
and basically,
only in the D.C. area though.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway,
which was annoying.
He actually stated that he has no problem with background checks at gun sales.
Yeah, no exceptions. Anyone, anytime.
And now somehow 14 years later, it's
but now the excuse is no. Well, criminals are still going to get guns. Well, of course they're going to get guns.
Why not make it harder?
The idea is to make it harder for criminals
That's
to
the whole
get guns.
point.
That's it. Make it harder for them to get guns.
The thing that drives me nuts is the thing nobody on any 24-hour news network is talking about is the thing Jon Stewart pointed out, which is so often the case.
Well, they don't like
Jon Stewart is the only actual journalist.
He says things they don't want to hear.
Jon Stewart pointed out that while Wayne LaPierre talks about enforcing existing gun laws, Jon Stewart went through this whole extensive history of how the NRA stopped anybody from being able to enforce existing gun laws.
Yes, this is true.
And he had this great clip where he goes through like this 7-step process where they stopped it at the state level. They stopped it at the federal level. They completely
no head
detoothed,
for the ATF.
Right. They completely detoothed the ATF.
They can't use computers because that would facilitate their job. No computers. A government agency has been forbidden to use computers, specifically so to make their jobs harder. There's no other reason for it.
No.
There's none.
And it just goes to show that, as usual, conservatives are just lying hypocrites.
Now, I do want to point out one thing. I'm supposed to write an article about it. I never got a chance. One thing you're going to keep hearing from Wayne LaPierre and various right-wing senators and whatever and House people, and you'll hear it on Fox News all the time, is that Obama was lying when he's... I'm still looking up at the camera. I should.
No, you're addressing the audience.
Give them a creepy leer.
That Obama was lying when he said that Congress had forbidden the CDC to look into the causes of gun violence. Okay? Now, this is splitting hairs as finely as you can. This is like down to the molecular level they're splitting hairs. What Congress said, and one senator actually said this out loud, and I'm surprised no one just jumped up and slapped them in the face for it, that they didn't forbid them from looking into the causes of gun violence. What they forbid them from doing is advocating for gun control. But, in any way. But that means if you look into gun violence and you find that guns are the cause, you can no longer go forward with that research. And that was the entire point. They know that not that guns cause the violence, but guns make the violence happen. Okay, that didn't really come out right. Without the guns, the violence doesn't happen. It's not that the guns force people to do it, but it makes it so easy to do.
It's not as deliciously complete.
Well, it's way more efficient.
With a knife, you can only kill 1 or 2 people.
Yeah, so...
And that's only if you stab in the right place.
So, excuse me. So every time they say, oh, no, we didn't forbid them, it's like, no, they explicitly forbid them. By just saying, well, if you get the results we don't like, well, then you can't do the research. And that's exactly what they did. And that's why Obama said, yeah, go ahead, look into it. And, they're going to start freaking out. As soon as the CD starts looking into it, the GOP is going to freak out. But Obama seems convinced that the way he worded it, or that they can get around that restriction. I'm not entirely sure how that's going to work.
Yeah, they've been cutting the budget for statistical analysis. Because they don't want the argument made mathematically. They don't want to make it... They don't want science.
Right.
They don't want science.
Republicans understand any and all science is bad for them. If there's statistics involved and there's a study involved, it's bad for them on every level.
And that's why they
gay rights, climate change, gun control.
It was like they're undermining all sorts of agencies that try to
anything involving facts, they're in trouble.
Yeah, anything they don't like, they kind of cut funding to.
Which proves, by the way, that they know that they're full of crap.
They don't like the CDC investigating gun violence, so cut the money.
Yeah, and Glenn is right. If they actually believed anything that they said,
they would be in favor of more studies and more knowledge and more proof, more evidence.
The other gun nut excuse this week, we had 2 good gun nut excuses, was from Gail Trotter. Gail Trotter is an anti-feminist whack job that comes out and pretty much tells women that they should just suck it up and let their spouses smack the shit out of them. Because,
well,
you know...
He spoke out against approving the Violence Against Women Act.
Yeah, because, you know...
But guns are okay.
Freedom.
Especially for women, because, you know, it makes them feel more confident.
Yeah, her excuse why women need semi-automatic rifles is because when a marauding band of men bust into their house and she needs to protect her screaming children... You know, 4, 5, 6 men break into their house because, you know, that happens.
That happens.
Well, wait a second now. I think you got A and C, but you forgot B. And that is that you have this person who has been on the record as being anti anything feminist, anything pro-woman. And now she walks into Congress pretending she's speaking for all women. Right. And that she cares deeply about women's issues.
I was getting to that. What I was going to say was, after she was done painting her picture of, the beyond Thunderdome, when, men just randomly bust in and just, raving hordes of men.
Like a Schwarzenegger film, some random person getting attacked by,
Miss Trotter. Actually, I don't know if she's married or not, but whatever. I think
she is married. She has 6 kids. She's,
I'm sure her husband...
Why isn't her husband telling us her opinion?
Yeah, women should not speak.
She's an attorney. So.
But, as far as she's concerned, women who are raped and claim abuse are all liars. Almost all of them are liars. Men are maligned, and, how do you treat men? But then she turned around and says, well, there's roving bands of men running around who charge in and rape women.
5. 5 men.
So she has a scary looking gun that she can defend herself.
If that happens,
5 men are breaking into every
If that happens, chances are you're like a drug kingpin, or you're, you're
say hello to my little
exactly. Odds are you kind of brought on yourself.
You may be running a mafia.
You might be, wanted by Escobar or somebody.
So yeah, and the worst part was that she's like, she used the example of a woman who beat back attackers, but what she neglected to mention is that the woman used a shotgun, and of course a shotgun is not affected.
Yeah, she used.
What senator was that?
White House, I think.
No,
Sheldon Whitehouse.
No, it was someone. It was.
I think he mentioned that some woman that she had.
No, he pointed out it wasn't that gun.
He knew what she was talking about better than she knew. Right. Which was funny.
I think the woman that
she used a shotgun, and the shotgun was not in any way being prohibited by anything.
It was either a shotgun or a rifle.
No, it was a shotgun.
It was a shotgun. All right.
Specifically a shotgun.
I'm pretty sure Sheldon Whitehouse asked the question. He knew already the answer, of course. That's why he brought it up.
She was like, "I'm not sure." And he's like, "Well, I am."
Exactly. and the weapon that they're talking about is not on the list of weapons they're looking to.
So Glenn has a terrible thing he has to admit about his defense of the pro-gun.
Yeah, I'm giving up, man.
Glenn, wait, hold on. Here you go. Here's a towel.
There's a towel. I'm throwing it in.
Throw it in.
As usual, anytime I agree with the conservatives on anything in a general thing, and
they ruin it.
I'm generally pro Second Amendment, but boy, oh boy, are these people like completely out of the park crazy. Like, first of all, as soon as you have to lie to get your point across, as soon as you have to say things that are completely disingenuous to get your point across, you're admitting that
this episode wrong. Not brought to you by Pepsi.
Wild cherry Diet Pepsi.
No product placement. I'll try to be discreet about it.
Pour me one while you're. The rest of you are going to drink on camera, so
go.
There's no rum. Yeah, no, that's and I've written an article about that as well. The whole thing about being conservative is that you have to lie constantly to defend your position. If you have to lie all the time about everything, then your position is bullshit. And this goes for abortion as well. There's another one. Glenn is anti-abortion.
Anti-abortion.
He's a Catholic.
Boy, did they...
And he's got a point in the sense of it's not a person from the exact second that the sperm touches the egg.
Well, once you start talking about forcible rape, then you've completely lost me.
Oh, well, that too. But I mean, he said, Glenn has said there's a discussion to be had when a fertilized egg, during its 9-month trip,
when does life begin?
When does it become a person?
This is a legitimate argument that
nobody has.
We need to have as a society. We need to decide when does life begin. We need to have a dialogue about that, which we don't have. We have two sides screaming past each other, completely ignoring their points. But, the problem is the vast majority of people who call themselves pro-life aren't. the vast majority of people who call themselves pro-life don't really care about abortion. They care about sex. And, you know, if anything is proved that the last 3 years with the whole Tea Party nonsense and all this ridiculousness about contraception has proven that, you know, the entire pro-life movement is about sex. It's not about abortion. It's about we don't like people having sex because I guess we're not having sex or something. I don't know. They don't like people having sex.
Yeah, especially if you're a woman. They don't care if you're a guy. If you're a guy having sex,
I've always said the ridiculous
have all the sex you want, unless you're gay.
Anybody who tells me they're pro-life but they're against universal health care for children, like, you're full of shit. You know, sorry.
Yeah, my personal point, the way I expose those people is like, okay, well, if you're pro-life, well, that means that you're for full distribution of contraceptives, and you're in favor of full sexual education for teenagers.
Yes.
And when they say no, it's like, well, then you're not pro-life, you're anti-sex.
Well, it would make sense.
Done.
Anything that would limit the number of abortions.
Right, and they pretend, well, no, I don't want to limit abortions, I want to eliminate them. It's like, no, the object is to keep abortions from happening. How do you do that? Make sure they don't have one-on-one pregnancies. If you do that, then you don't have to worry about abortions. If you make sure there's no one-on-one pregnancies, there's no abortions.
Well, I mean, obviously not everyone's going to use protection, but I mean,
that's the whole point. If you make it as widely available as possible, I mean, there was
will sharply reduce.
I mean, they did that study where they made abortion. They educated these women, poor women specifically, is really who they went after. Yeah. They educated these poor women, and they made sure they had a variety of options. Most of those women picked IUDs or the kind where you don't have to pop a pill every day because you could forget to take a pill. Right. Once they pop that thing in there, you don't have to worry about it. It's in there for the next 3 months. Right. And what did they find? It was like an 80% drop.
Yeah, exactly.
In unwanted pregnancies. Like, holy crap.
Yeah.
That would reduce abortions far more than anything the Republicans to think of as far as banning them goes. But no, they don't want that because those women can now have sex without the specter of getting pregnant over the head. And obviously, that's wrong. It's immoral. Yeah. It's like, okay, so you don't care about abortion. You care about women having sex.
Well, it's not just about abortion then. It's like, you know, abortion was like kind of the main reason, but then all these are now secondary reasons.
No, it wasn't the main reason because before Roe v. Wade, there was
Griswold
v. Connecticut.
That's true.
And Griswold v. Connecticut
conservatives were very strongly opposed to Griswold.
You might want to explain what Griswold is.
I was getting to it. Griswold versus Connecticut pretty much said, yes, you can buy condoms.
You don't need a doctor's appointment.
The law, they cannot pass a law telling you you're not allowed to buy condoms because they used to be able to do that.
Understand about a Supreme Court case.
You have to be A, married, and B, have a doctor's
to get condoms.
To get
not
condoms.
Pills. Condoms.
The thing you have to understand about needing to have a Supreme Court case is that if you need to have a Supreme Court case, that means that in the middle of the 1960s, there are still people who very badly want to prevent contraception from being legal. All those conservatives who say, oh, we're in favor of individual liberty. No, they're not in favor of individual liberty. Right now, their big contraception argument,
but not for you.
Well, their idea of individual liberty is you doing what they want.
Right now.
You live your life the way I say, that's freedom.
Right at this moment, their big contraception argument is they don't understand why your employer can't force you to obey his religious beliefs.
Yeah, God forbid.
Like
oh my God.
Literally. Clearly,
God forbid.
Your religious beliefs are not important. Your employer's religious beliefs are the ones you need to follow. And they give away that they really are, they're really like pro-authoritarian, pro-monarchy kind of people.
Especially if you work for a Catholic, institution, then, how dare you have your own ideas.
No. The conservative argument is not just about churches. They want any employer to be able to say, my religion says you can't have contraceptives, so you can't have them covered because my religion says it.
Then you can say the same. My religion says that should not be forced to pay you overtime.
I'm sure they're in favor of that. I'm sure they will get to that
eventually.
I was looking at the comments for an article about a guy in Oregon who's getting in trouble because he doesn't want to make wedding cakes for lesbian weddings, and there was even a gay person in the comments section who's a gay Republican who's saying, "Oh, well, you shouldn't have to you shouldn't have to do business with anybody you don't want to do business with." So if he said he's against interracial marriage, that's fine.
Oh, as far as they're concerned, yes.
My favorite example is Jewish people. You know, Christians always talk. You know, always Christians talking about how, well, if you don't adhere to my Christian beliefs, I don't have to serve you. Go ahead. Let me hear you say that that you want to, that you will not. You're opposed to bar mitzvahs. So because you're not going to get a bar mitzvah, that means you're opposed to anybody else having a bar mitzvah.
Well,
so
no,
you won't make a cake for a bar mitzvah.
We love our friends in Israel.
Yeah, exactly. They're all going to hell. But
we're all going to be killed in the end times. But for now, we're their best friends.
Well, that's because you have to build the temple on the mount, and then the Stargate will be created, and then Jesus will walk through it. Come on, come on.
The Jesus Stargate.
Yes, exactly.
I don't think that's in the Bible.
Oh, come on. James Spader wouldn't lie to me.
I'd like to see the symbols that match up to that one.
Nor Kurt Russell.
Alrighty then. Speaking of weird people, there's Karl Rove. Karl Rove has decided that he's going to be the savior of the Republican Party. And he's going to do this by using his Conservative Victory Project. And the Conservative Victory Project is Karl Rove doing what everyone has been saying the liberals have been saying this for years now. Stop getting the Tea Party people elected. Or stop trying to get the Tea Party people elected. Stop their nomination.
If you look at Justin's notes for the podcast, the insulting thing is not that he misspells everything. It's that after spell check tells him he spelled it wrong, he still refuses to fix it.
I know what I mean.
It's for me to read. I don't care if it's misspelled.
He's got conservative on there. Anyway.
I have John McCain saying capital C, little C. It doesn't come out.
You didn't need to know that. No, but he has to say it. Jerk.
Jerk.
I've been smugged.
It's boring a hole in my brain.
I got smugged.
It's like you can't just right click it and fix it. No, anyway. Karl Rove.
Karl Rove.
The Victory Project.
The Victory Project.
Which, considering his track record, is pretty goddamn.
And what was his track record?
1%.
1.27.
Which is hilarious in and of itself.
Karl Rove has always wanted to be for the 1%.
No, but they're in a tough spot because you're trying to get people to vote for you. But like I know your heart set on this crazy bastard, but really he
won't stop talking about rape.
Yeah,
rape's okay. I don't see what the problem is. Vote for me.
We want you to vote for Republican Light. I mean, come on, Republican Light's not bad.
What Karl Rove is really what Karl Rove is really saying is, I want to get people elected who are smart enough to keep their fucking mouth shut.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the important thing, because what I've heard in the media is them portraying the idea that Karl Rove is looking for people who actually have more moderate positions. No.
Nope, just smart enough to keep their mouth shut.
The National Republican Party, what is the newest thing now? That the National Republican Party is fighting harder to make sure rape kits don't get processed or something, or there's no money to process rape kits. It's not that the Republican Party...
cartoonishly evil, you know?
They are in favor of rape.
They'll never catch me.
Like we're not just saying this.
But she was asking for it.
Okay, here's the problem. Here's the problem with the GOP and rape. I'm going to break it down for you. It's very, very simple. The GOP is no. The main problem with the GOP is most of them are rich. Not conservatives. The GOP. Most of them are rich, which means their male children are spoiled monsters. Most of them will rape people, so the GOP has a vested interest in making sure they don't get caught.
Wow. Wow.
That's plausible. The most rational thing I've heard.
That's way plausible. I know, wow.
It's like, I don't want my kid going to jail forever.
Yeah.
If he wants to rape a woman, then that's his prerogative.
He wants to join fraternity. He wants to be part of a sports team.
Exactly.
They're going to rape people. It's going to happen.
There might be some rape.
The skull, what is it? The Skulls and Bones group? The Skulls and Bone fraternity?
I don't know if you should blame
them. It can ruin their lives.
I've heard they've taken a liberal turn in latter years. Yeah.
The Skulls and Flowers.
And all fair, not all fraternity men or athletes are out there raping people.
Yeah, fraternity men.
They're
not in favor of rape.
Although, if Glenn had the opportunity, he would totally rape me.
Oh, rape. No,
I'd want to make him like it.
See? That's exactly how conservatives think. Yes, we're joking about rape. I don't know. Anyway, but
this is the only thing you can do when you see the Republicans,
either scream and
how
cry
crazy
or laugh
the Republicans are. That they're actually against processing rape kits.
And normally you think they're the party of law and order and all this kind of nonsense. And
no, because they really don't think
rape. I guess
they honestly, laws they want enforced.
Only if it gets to poor people.
Well, they honestly don't think rape is real. That's the thing that kills me. That's what fucked them so bad in this previous election, no pun intended, is that they really don't think most rape is actually rape.
Clearly, she wanted it.
It's like, if she wasn't wearing those clothes, if she didn't scream no, one judge said if the vagina's not shredded, then it wasn't really rape. It's
a lot of you guys lived in that Mad Men era. No, hey, come on. Yeah, she said no.
It's like, sure, she was unconscious and
really
drugged her,
yes.
but, come on. She would have liked it if she'd been awake.
I mean, come on.
Right.
Oh, they say no at the beginning, and then once you start doing it, they go along with it,
It's
right?
insane.
And it's got, you know what the really disturbing thing is? Japanese cartoons, this is how they think. This is why I won't watch the hentai anymore, because almost every single one of them, the woman is forced to have sex and then somehow enjoys it.
Well, I think there's a difference between rape fantasy and really believing that kind of thing.
Well, no, but
Lots of people enjoy rape fantasy who understand the concept that real rape isn't like that.
I know, but imagine if we had cartoons like that here.
Well, yeah.
How much worse? Sure, I mean, it's bad enough here. Imagine what it'd be like if we had that kind of culture where, oh, it's perfectly acceptable to show a woman being forced into having sex and then turning around and enjoying it. You know, it would be 1,000 times worse here. I can only imagine.
I think it has a lot to do with how a society receives media and how a society treats media. I actually had a debate with somebody the other day about video games versus rap music, and I was saying, the difference is people who play video games don't actually go out in the street with a sword, or they don't believe this is actually how I should live my life. When you talk to people who listen to a lot of rap music, they believe that that's how you should honestly live your life. Like, I've had conversations with young people who really believe that women are objects and that the goal of life is to get as much power and money as possible. And, they listen to rap music and they believe this is a code of living.
No, that's not true, because when I was that age, I listened to heavy metal, and I didn't really feel the need to go out and do drugs and worship Satan.
Yeah,
I didn't do it.
Individuals vary, but a lot of popular culture is like get the money, get the power.
I knew you when you were a teenager.
Kind of like Scarface,
You were not looking to get up in them bitches, Murphy.
No, okay. No, but come on. They've been selling sex to kids since day one. I mean,
Yeah, but
there's a difference between selling sex and selling rape. There's a difference between selling sex and selling objectification.
Women have been objectified since what?
Yeah, but there's something about rap music that's much more pernicious. I mean, it really does hurt. It does hurt a certain segment of like that culture. It just kind of it denigrates it badly.
It has to do with whether or not you believe that the media you are consuming is to be taken seriously.
Okay.
Is it something that I am just listening to entertain myself, or is this my church? Is this a code for living? And I think that different media get consumed different ways. Like I said, people who are playing
Legend of Zelda, Borderlands, don't go out and be like, "Arr!
I have a sword!" They don't do this, but like I said, I've had conversations with people who listen to rap music who think that, having sex with a woman when she's unconscious is perfectly fine.
There's something about that. That's a discussion. We'll have that discussion in more detail one of these days.
You can write all about how we're racist because we said rap music was bad. I know you're going to.
Not all racist.
Speaking of, apparently, I am a racist today.
Oh yes,
I am a racist because I found John McCain's insult to how do you say his name?
Ahmadinejad.
Mahmoud Ahmadinejad.
That guy.
President of Iran.
Yes, I found it amusing because it just kind of worked its way together very nicely. Last week, Iran supposedly had launched a monkey into space. There was a thing about it where it turns out it probably didn't happen because they had like different pictures of different monkeys, but whatever. We'll say.
I think it didn't happen.
I don't think it happened, but whatever. We'll pretend it happened. And so
I'm pretty sure
John McCain tweets. So. Whatever.
So Ahmadinejad,
terrible with accents. Horrible.
Ahmadinejad.
Yes, wants to be the first Iranian in space. Wasn't he just there last week? And he quotes Iran launches monkey into space and shows the article. And I was like, Blumch. Now it's like, ugh, really? I mean, only in the sense of
Sad yes, racist no.
Yeah, it's like you're insulting the president of Iran. You're demeaning the president of Iran. But then again, president of Iran's a lunatic anyway.
Yeah, it's like the biggest straw man ever.
He was clearly insulting one guy, not an entire.
Right, and I've been accused because I thought it was kind of funny because it just kind of there was like ha ha ha.
It's cornballish.
Yeah, it was like it's racist. I was like, no, it really isn't actually. It's like he's not calling all
Iranians,
or Persians.
Right.
He's not calling them all monkeys. Right. And, it's like, well, you don't think that's racist? It's like, no, there's no history of calling Persians or Arabs racist.
The significant difference when you call a black person a monkey,
there's a very long
history of black people being compared to monkeys, and there's a whole racist history of it. But, and clearly, when you were making that kind of a comment, you're bringing up that history. You're bringing that to bear.
And even if you're not doing it with that in mind, the history still exists. So you can't just ignore it.
Right. If you say anytime you call anybody a monkey, that's racist, then what you're basically doing is demonetizing a very real thing that happened to black people that did not happen to Iranians at any point. At no point were Persians all called monkeys. This did not happen.
Wait, I'm curious. He said, according to John McCain, he says, so Ahmadinejad wants to be the first Iranian. But Mahmoud Ahmadinejad said that he personally wants to be the first one in space?
Oh, yes.
Oh, okay, then...
I think he was joking.
Hell, if I was a president, I'd be like, shit, send me up.
Alright, because if he didn't, that's this whole line...
I'm honestly surprised that no president of the United States has ever said, I'm the president, you put me in that goddamn ship and put me into space.
I think most presidents that's way dangerous. No,
Screw that, man. I'd be like, do it! It's you know what? I have 6 months left on my second term. You're putting my ass in space.
The Secret Service might have to say.
Secret Service would say, yeah. Maybe the first one said, Mr. President, I'm sorry, but get the fuck out of here. We're leaving a free world. We're not letting you on that capsule. Get the hell out of here.
How about the last day he's in office? It's my last day in office. Set the launch for the last day. Let me go into orbit,
it's called
please.
Abuse of power.
Damn straight. I'm the head of the largest military.
I'm clothed in immense power.
In orbit.
I'm clothed in immense power.
Clothed in immense power. And you give me that mimic. I mean, what?
Yeah. So it really, I mean, if he was saying, "Oh yeah, those Iranians all monkeys," like he's not saying that. Whatever.
He didn't say all. He said Ahmadinejad.
It's like, and when I pointed out, it was like, you know what? People called Bush a monkey. And it was like, oh, that doesn't count. It was like, well, of course it doesn't count because it's a white guy, right? You can't call anyone that's not white a monkey. How about an Asian? How about a Hispanic? It wouldn't even make sense to call someone of a Hispanic descent a monkey. You'd be like, okay, screw you.
Well,
you're a monkey
you
too.
call anyone a monkey, and it's kind of insulting. You wouldn't be like,
actually, you can call anybody a monkey, and it's kind of true. We're all monkeys.
No,
technically speaking, yes, he's right.
You're
okay. Monkeys are.
And one person actually tried that. It's like, oh, well, they didn't call Bush a monkey; they called him a chimpanzee, and that's an ape. It's like, okay, thank you. You just made my point.
Shut up. Shut the fuck up.
It's like,
you're
much better. You're splitting hairs.
Okay. No. I'm a chimpanzee. Yeah, okay, I'll take that.
Yeah, John McCain's
a monkey.
He's a douchebag. He's got, he pandered to the racist group when it came to Latinos. Although I don't actually think.
If you're a cactus, you don't care about the difference between monkeys and apes because all apes are monkeys too. I'm just saying.
Thank you. Tricky setup. All right, let's move on.
Okay.
That was just a
you
fun.
See the life he has kids.
That went on a little long.
He drinks out of these glasses.
Yes, little plastic cups because
he has kids.
When you have kids, you just can't have.
This
nice
is the
things.
life you have to live when you have kids.
You wanted to discuss John McCain and the haggling.
The haggling.
The haggling.
The haggling. So we were watching this. Hagel confirmation, and
poor John Hagel.
Well, I mean,
did not have a good day.
No, I thought he did okay. Honestly, I know I'm one of very few. But
well, McCain really went out.
I think Hagel more or less kind of held his own.
There was way too much that coming out of Hagel. One of the things when Murphy and I were watching clips from this, one of the things I said was, if I were Republicans do things because they know Democrats will not challenge them. So, for example, if John Kerry were in the Senate and he were asking questions of somebody who opposed him for president, the Republicans would be all over that. Oh, look, he's bitter. Democrats don't do that, and they should. You know, I mean, Republicans should be afraid to make the standard bearer in this discussion a person who's upset because Hagel didn't support him in his failed bid for presidency. Because
it should come across as sour grapes, but he's not being nailed for it as coming across as sour grapes.
Right, because because Democrats are not politically smart enough to do this. They're too busy falling all over themselves trying to be fair to everybody. If I were I said this to Murphy, I said if I were the chair of the Democratic Senate committee that was holding these hearings, as soon as John McCain got started and asked his first one or two questions, I'd be like, John, listen, I think in the best interests of your dignity, I think it would be a good idea for you to recuse yourself on this question. We all know that
take a nap. I mean, right?
No, we all know. Listen, we all know that you have a history. We all know that you have a history with Senator Hagel. We know that there was some bitterness over your failed presidential bid. And I would just say, John, I'd like to preserve your dignity here. So
at that point, John McCain would be like, "Get off my lawn, you damn kids!"
McCain would have a board gasket. There'd be steam.
Oh,
he would. Steam
and it would make McCain look terrible.
Yeah, but do you really want to be responsible for having him having aneurysm on camera?
No, but that's a dick move.
Would you want to be responsible for that?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, there you go.
No, look, my attitude is if Republicans want to bring it, that's the way it works.
It would have been good as another senator to say, not for nothing. You do have a history of this guy. You might want to kind of.
Let's call a spade a spade. We know that this entire thing is you being angry about losing the election.
That sounded racist.
You know that this is about you losing the election.
We know that you're angry with Hagel because he kind of turned his opinion against you. He endorsed Obama instead of you.
Right.
That bastard.
And Democrats should have been all over the media.
But they didn't because they're pussies.
Democrats should have said, "Boy, that was embarrassing. I feel embarrassed for John McCain. Yeah, he still can't get over this election." That's what Democrats should have been out there saying.
Yeah, but they won't.
No, they won't. Because they still want to work with him because he's a maverick.
No, I have no problem with still wanting to work with him. Look, Republicans will launch that kind of attack and try to work with you the next day all the time.
Right. No, that's
Republicans have no compunctions about...
They'll stab you in the back and then hand you the knife wiped with the fingerprints off of it.
Hey, as far as Republicans go, it's fair game. It's politics, all's fair in love and war, and that's the way it works. Democrats are the ones too busy trying to be soft.
The Democrats really need to take a couple of tips from Fox News. Democrats really try too hard to be fair and balanced. They really shouldn't.
I think all that being said, I think Hagel will likely be confirmed. I think he's not a bad choice in all my opinion. I think some of the things that he said that I thought were really pretty good was the fact that he doesn't want to send soldiers in if he doesn't actually agree with the policy. He wants the strategy to be worthy. At least his right.
Don't send them in there to get shot without.
He said the right things. I think he said the right things as far as I'm concerned. The fact that we have someone who's a former infantryman himself,
right?
I think was more or less likely to just send these guys in willy-nilly.
Three things I think the Democrats did not hammer well enough. Well, one thing the Democrats, two things Chuck Hagel. The Democrats should have hammered the Republicans on claiming that Chuck Hagel wasn't qualified when he's the only person anybody's ever proposed who's actually been an enlisted man.
Hell, even John McCain himself suggested back in 2000, I would like to have this guy as Secretary of Defense. He actually literally said that.
Yeah, it's true.
We've never had an enlisted man as Secretary of Defense, and I think that, first of all, when I found that out, I was like, oh my God, that's a glaring omission. Like,
that's really sad that that's actually true.
Well, I mean, it's classist as all hell. It shows that, it shows a propensity of a society to look at these people as cannon fodder, that they're good enough to go into gunfire, but they're not good enough to be Secretary of Defense. They're not good enough to be the people in charge of deciding
who gets shot at.
Who gets shot at. Like people who actually have the military experience on the ground, it would make sense that they would make a good Secretary of Defense. But it shows a whole classist way of thinking when you say, oh, well, those people are cannon fodder. We don't actually let them make the decisions on how the cannon fodder is used.
Oh, let's face it. Over the last 150 years, cabinet posts have been like Patriot jobs.
I've always had a big problem
Not all people who have been Secretary of Defense have been qualified. You've had a dentist one time. You had one guy who was, or maybe one guy who was a nuclear scientist, or at one point on a submarine, maybe, and he had some experience. All these guys have been, lawyers and lobbyists. So you're not exactly putting the most qualified people.
Are you saying Donald Rumsfeld wasn't a war hero?
He was a veteran at least.
Chicken hawk.
He was a veteran to his credit, but a lot of our secretaries of defense have always been political appointees. They've all been hacks, lawyers. They haven't really been or businessmen. They have never actually served in the military.
Donald Rumsfeld was a military genius. Military genius, I tell you.
Really. Okay, we'll talk about him later. We don't have time to go on.
I've always had a problem with the differentiation between officers and enlisted. It really is it's a class. It's based on class. It's not based on experience. It's not based on any. It's not based on knowledge or know-how or anything like that. It's entirely based on, like if you have the right connections and you get into West Point, the day you graduate, you immediately outrank, somebody who's been enlisted for 50 years. You immediately outrank him, and that to me that's crazy. It's insane that you don't have an automatic track for people who are enlisted who distinguish themselves. They should move into officer slots naturally. It shouldn't be this line.
Those guys usually
you enlisted, so that day you enlisted, you are completely separate from this other group of guys who went to college.
Yeah, but those guys usually become sergeant majors, which is kind of a high. It's like highest post for an enlisted guy.
Yeah, but
and the first guy who graduates from West Point immediately outranks him.
I know. Second lieutenant.
That does not make sense to me.
They went to officer school, so they were
22-year-old second lieutenant outranks that guy who's been in the job 30 years.
He ranks the what's his name? Sergeant Major of the Army.
Yeah.
Like the chief enlisted man in the Army is outranked by the West Point graduate.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so the other two things I want to talk about quickly that the Democrats missed, or Chuck Hagel missed, was he didn't defend himself on the two things that he believed in that were controversial. So John McCain is making a big deal out of the surge. And what Hagel should have said was, look, I think it's very clear that history has me right on being against the war in Iraq. Which, to me, being right about the war in Iraq to begin with
that's true.
is substantially more important than whether or not I was right about this tiny little part of the war. So, John, maybe you should think about the fact that you were wrong. History proved that you were wrong in Iraq. Well, just because you're the one sitting, being interrogated for the Senate hearing, I think Hillary Clinton showed that you can be aggressive. And you can fight back. You shouldn't be like.
She definitely kicked everyone's ass.
You shouldn't be sitting there afraid to say something confrontational. When Lindsey Graham asked who's intimidated by the Israeli lobby, Chuck Hagel should have said the entire Senate.
Everybody.
I stand by what I said before. I think what Chuck Hagel should have pointed out. Look, in the late 1970s. The United States had established the idea that we wanted to bring peace to the Middle East by coming in as honest arbiters, as people who were going to take a true neutral position and be fair. Ever since the Reagan administration, we said, screw that. We are here at the negotiating table, clearly on one side. And how can anybody take you seriously when you say, I'm not going to be fair, I'm not going to be an arbiter?
All right, just a quick interjection here. What they're talking about is Chuck Hagel several years ago had some disparaging remarks for the Israeli lobby. Now, he did refer to it as a Jewish lobby.
Which was a mistake.
But what he was referring to is the fact that the United States takes its foreign policy cues from the Israeli government. And the right immediately seized on... Well, they didn't seize on... I don't know if they seized on at the time. He was a Republican. But...
yeah, they didn't care about it then.
Yeah. Once he was going to be nominated for Secretary of Defense, they were like, oh, but he's anti-Semitic. He doesn't like Jewish people.
Well, they use the words Jewish lobby, which
really comes out
interchangeable with the Israeli lobby. You know, in all fairness.
It's not that he doesn't like Jewish people.
Even Jews use the term Jewish lobby. So go figure.
He's an anti-Zionist, which has nothing to do with being anti-Jewish. It's not anti-Semitic whatsoever in any way, shape, or form.
I don't know that it would be fair to call him an anti-Zionist.
This is true, but
is he saying he wants everybody to leave Israel? No.
Yeah.
Look, I consider myself a Zionist. I believe very strongly in the existence of the state of Israel. Does that mean I think that you should kill all the Palestinians and give all the land to Israel? No. I don't think. I don't think that's what you have to be.
That makes you anti-Semitic,
right? That makes me an anti-Semite.
Yeah. If you don't agree with everything Israel does, to some, too many people, you automatically hate Jewish people, which I think is hilarious because then I have them try to explain to me why, me as a Jew, why I hate Jewish people.
Well, how about all the people?
No one ever wants to tell me how that works.
How about all the people in left parties, left-wing parties in Israel? The approximately 40 to 50% of Israelis, depending upon the year, who don't agree with the conservatives. It's just like when people said that if you don't agree with the Iraq War, you're anti-American.
Right.
Well, there were lots of Americans. Or
you're an appeaser. You don't really love your country.
No, I'm talking about people outside of America. Any country that disagreed with us, like, we can't have French fries. We have to have freedom fries because they oppose the Iraq War.
That always happens, though.
Because, if you don't agree with the right wing of America, then you don't agree with America.
Well, it's not my fault that the French are a bunch of surrender monkeys.
We have a long...
Oh, wait, that's racist. I called them monkeys.
We have a long history.
I am racist against French people.
There you go. Add to the list of people you hate.
Yes.
No, we have a long history of that. Every time we go to war, we have to change the name of everything that has anything to do, even remotely, with that person we're against now. Like,
what was it? Freedom cabbage?
Freedom cabbage. Instead of sauerkraut, Liberty cabbage.
Liberty cabbage.
Liberty cabbage. We can't call them Frankfurters. We have to call them hot dogs. Because Frankfurter is German! That's all,
So anyway, that was my point. It was just that there are plenty of people in Israel who don't agree with the right wing.
What do they call hamburgers?
Oh, I don't know. Whatever.
Hamburger was
That's not German?
No, the Earl of Hamburger was English, I
think. Earl Sandwich, I thought that was. Lord Sandwich.
No, but hamburger was also.
Whatever. All right.
Oh, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe hamburger.
All right, let's move on to the last little bit, and then we got to wrap this up.
Okay. I think I'm wrong.
The show has
Did you just say you think you're wrong? Wait, look into the camera and say that.
I think I'm wrong. I think hamburger.
The show has hit a lag.
I'm going to make that into a GIF. Just for you. I think I'm wrong. I think I'm wrong. I think I'm wrong.
Flash it on the screen.
You will not hear Glenn say that again.
Well, ever. Because it's very rare that I am. So.
All right, last topic.
We've been smugged again. All right.
In conclusion.
All right. The Gallup. There was a Gallup poll that was released. Now this is from Tegard's Political Wire.
He's anti-Irish. Look at that. He can't pronounce Tegan.
America has become a slightly more liberal and slightly less conservative nation than it was in 2011, based on residents' self-reports of their ideology. But conservatives still outnumber both moderates and liberals. According to a new Gallup analysis, in all, more Americans identified as conservatives and liberal in 2012, 38% to 23%, compared to 40% to 21% in 2011, a 4-point swing in favor of liberals. The percentage of self-identified moderates remained unchanged at 36%. This is from Political Wire. This is Murphy's addiction. This is like he will literally sit there and go click, 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 refreshing it. It's really kind of scary to watch.
Murphy wants
right before the podcast. Right before the podcast,
he wants it wired directly into his brain.
No,
that's what he wants.
I want to know what was going on about it last minute. All right, this is going on. All right, so at least I know what's going on before I can talk.
Murphy wants daily reports if Tegan got his bowel movements.
That's how I prep myself real quick.
All right. Now this can mean several things. One of the reasons
people vote for Obama, so therefore they're more liberal.
One of the things is that people don't identify themselves liberals because the conservatives had a 30-year successful campaign to make the word liberal dirty.
Yeah, that's true. People ran away from that label, Glenn.
These statistics have to be balanced with the statistics that aren't there, and that is how many people self-identify as Democrat versus Republican versus independent.
Right.
And then suddenly you see a whole lot more people identify themselves as Democrats. So what's happening here? And what's happening here is that you're right that the word liberal has been dragged through the mud ridiculously. But as far as whose fault that is, yeah, I'd give 40% of it to conservatives. I give 60% of the fault to liberals.
Right.
Because the problem is liberals haven't spent the last 50 years saying, "Hey, look, all of the advances in our society for the past 200 years have been done by liberalism." You know, if you actually look at women's suffrage, abolition,
child labor laws,
civil rights, the weekend, unions, all of these things were brought to you by liberalism.
Public education.
Public education.
Socialism.
Is still something that
minimum wage laws
that conservatives don't believe in. So, you know, if liberals were smart enough to take the initiative when we were winning and smiting them badly, After
in the
the
30s and 40s.
after the civil rights movement became conclusive, when it was clear in the like right around Watergate, when it was clear that they had lost badly on civil rights, liberals should have not followed Martin Luther King's advice on giving the other side an exit strategy. I love Martin Luther King. The one thing I don't agree with him on is the idea of you have to give your opponents an honorable way out. Well, the problem is when you give them an honorable way out, then they pretend later on that it wasn't an argument to begin with, and everybody was in favor of whatever.
Which is something the Republicans like to do. After all, Glenn Beck has been trying to reclaim Martin Luther King's legacy for conservatives for the last couple of years. Because conservatives are the ones.
Because technically Martin Luther King was a Republican back in the day when Democrats were ardent racist fuckers.
Right, but all of history stopped in the 60s. After the 60s, nothing happened after that.
Martin Luther King was definitely a liberal. He was definitely a self-identified liberal. Right. He was hated for being a liberal.
Right.
And conservatives still don't believe in anything Martin Luther King believed in.
Thank you.
But they'll be happy to claim him because he's black.
No, they'll claim him because it's politically convenient to do so.
If you remember the political activity Martin Luther King was involved in when he died,
they'll claim
union.
They'll
claim him, but only for cover. They don't really believe in what he said.
Oh yeah, tokenism. They claim him for tokenism.
Well, because Martin Luther King is too popular, you can't denigrate Dr. King without looking like a total jackass.
Well, Ron Paul
Ron Paul denigrated Martin Luther King?
Well, he voted against Martin Luther King.
Right? Oh yeah. Well, that's one of the things that always gets.
But still, I mean, if you go up to the average American and you say, "Hey, are you in favor of this? You in favor of this?" and you don't say, "Are you in favor of these liberal positions?" You say, "Are you in favor of gun registration? Are you in favor of no child labor? Are you in favor of X, Y, and Z?" Most people will say, "Oh yeah, I'm in favor of that." But if you go up and say, "Hey, are you in favor of this liberal position?" Oh no.
Yeah,
no.
The term liberal has.
That's what I mean. It's like they don't identify as liberals.
They
That's
don't
why.
understand it, honestly. Once you point it out to them, they go, "Oh wow, really?" Well,
yeah, they think they think the word liberal means that you're a granola crunching.
No, it means you're a communist.
This goes back to
you're a Smurf watching communist.
Although I do like granola.
my silverback gorilla theory of politics. And that is that if a silverback gorilla is watching debate, and the silverback gorilla can tell you who won, that's who won, because that's honestly, on the subconscious level, all the American people see is, you want to feed children. Well, I don't want to feed children that much. Immediately, the message is feeding children is bad.
Right.
Because if you are aggressively accusing me of wanting to feed children, and I am sitting there cowering and trying to back away from the position of feeding children, then the message both of us are sending is that feeding children is bad.
Once you're on the defensive,
and that is what has gone on with conservatives and liberals. Is the conservatives go, "You're a liberal," and even though every good thing in the last 200 years has been produced by liberals, liberals sit there and go, "Oh, I'm not that liberal."
And this is what's pissing off Republicans and conservatives so much for the last several years, is that there's a movement of liberals. The three of us are among that are refusing to be like, "Oh, well, let's get along." It's like, no, fuck you. You're a conservative. You don't know shit. You're a liar. You're full of crap. You're being led by scumbags. And they're like, oh, gasp. How could you talk to us like that?
Party.
How could you say that? Oh, you're not being happy and you're not working along. It's all your fault, the crunches and gridlock. It's like, no, it's your fault because your party's full of shit. You watch Fox News, you're uneducated, you're a fucking racist, and you follow racists.
And you're not watching us right now.
Exactly. And this is the message. Hey, every time I see a liberal saying, "Hey, you can catch more flies with honey than vinegar," bullshit. We tried that for decades, and that got us Bush.
It worked well with Obamacare.
Yeah, it got us Bush. It got us Reagan. We got a watered-down healthcare bill, which could have been better if we'd said, "You know what? Screw you guys. We're going to do what we're going to do anyway.
We're going to promote our position first."
And no matter how much honey you use, the conservatives aren't going to give you anything. They're going to turn around and say, "Well, you should give me some more until you do what I want." They're completely uninterested in compromise in any way, shape, or form. The only time they compromise is when they don't have a choice. So don't give them an inch because they don't care. They don't care about anything. They just want what they want, and you can go screw yourself. And that's how conservatives think. And they say, "Well, not all conservatives are
so.
Well, not all conservatives are like that.
Flat out. They actually flat out said that. You know, Murdoch and all these guys, these Tea Party people. All I did compromise is you doing what I want. You know, and they say that they're
and when you turn around and say, oh, well, you're brushing conservatives with the broad stroke. It's like, you know what? They're still voting for the GOP. Yes, that's my broad stroke. As long as they vote for the GOP, as long as they say the Tea Party is, you know, we're going to nominate these guys. We're going to nominate people like Richard Murdoch. We're going to nominate people like
I want to belong to the party that says that the forcible rape. And, you know, women have secretions that can magically get rid of rape sperm.
It's lasers, I tell you.
You know, if you're going to voluntarily...
They have lasers down there
If you're going to voluntarily vote for Republicans...
Then wear it proudly.
If you're going to say, oh, I'm not a Republican, but you vote for Republicans, well, then you're a fucking Republican. If you're going to vote for the party that says evolution is just a theory or lies from the pit of hell... I don't care if you tell me you're an independent or you're a libertarian. You're voting for Republicans. You're a fucking Republican.
You're going to vote for the party that talks about family values and then taps your foot in the bathroom stall at an airport because you want gay sex. Yeah. If you're going to belong to the party that puts the guy in charge of child molestation laws that is currently trying to molest children,
then I'm not interested in being your friend or trying to get along with you. You're a piece of shit. Fuck you. I'm a liberal. Suck it. And that's it. There you go. Now I have to put a not safe for work on this one.
Not safe for work.
We're going to wrap it up before my head explodes. This is your host, the Filthy Liberal Scum, Justin Rosario, and fuck you, conservatives. This is the Mike Murphy.
Good night.
And this is, of course, the Fat Smoke Bastard.
You got the haggling.
All right. We'll see you all next week.
Bye.
Bye.